Actually, ancient Egyptians tied sandals with simple reeds, but real cord tips became standard during Rome, helping shoelaces survive life before Velcro existed. He actually hiked through the Swiss Alps and used a microscope to copy nature's tiny barbs onto a new fabric loop.
Aha, Doodles.
So he spent
Ouch.
years squinting at burrs until 1948, tweaking his design into something stronger than a toddler's stubborn grip on candy. De Mestral teamed up with a French textile company, and by 1954, they'd cracked the code on mass-producing his clever invention. But the real spark hit in 1941 when he watched those tiny hooks snag his dog's fur during a muddy hike. So de Mestral finally rushed his nylon prototype to a Swiss factory, proving that sticky burrs needed serious industrial muscle to work right. After testing rough sandpaper to mimic burrs, he finally found the smooth nylon hooks that made Velcro stick tight without snagging your favorite sweaters. So in 1955, Swiss engineer George de Mestral filed a patent before the whole world grabbed a roll of sticky magic for their sneakers and dads everywhere. Doodle: George looking proud next to a giant, cartoonish shoe with glowing laces. George de Mestral 1955 patent. Emotion: playful pride. SFX: pop sound as the shoe laces glow. But after 8 tricky years of rejections, the stubborn Swiss inventor finally won his patent in 1955, proving that persistence really does stick. Before the moon, NASA actually tested Velcro on the Mercury capsule, proving that even space needs a grip that doesn't come undone when you sneeze. Fans called it weak soup, but she handed it to a skeptical lab tech who spun it into threads tougher than a steel cable's best friend. Swiss engineer George de Mestral actually pulled sticky burrs from his dog after a hike, sparking a Velcro revolution that laces never needed. In 1941, Swiss engineer George de Mestral leashed this new obsession, turning a stubborn burr into a reliable closure for the first time. He spent 8 years grinding fabrics under a microscope until nylon finally held a burr as tight as your lunchbox lid.
De Mestral teamed up with a textile mill in Lyon to mass-produce his crazy strong hook.
Decades later, George de Mestral noticed burrs sticking to his dog's fur and spent 8 stubborn years inventing hook and loop magic. So he spun nylon threads into tiny one-way hooks, basically nature's sticky tape, hijacking your sneakers like a cosmic Velcro experiment. He finally named it Velcro, blending French words for velvet and hook, like nature's own invisible tape for messy kids everywhere. De Mestral's clever invention soon caught the attention of the U.S. military, who saw its potential beyond kids' toys. De Mestral's invention was later used by the U.S. military in the 1960s for uniforms and gear, because who doesn't love a good quick fix? After a decade of tinkering, he finally launched Velcro in 1955, proving that stubborn creativity beats fancy zippers every single time. So when NASA finally picked it for Apollo missions, the fabric literally saved millions of dollars in hardware costs compared to heavy buckles. So while NASA prepped for the moon, Swiss engineer de Mestral actually spent years perfecting nylon loops to mimic those garden burrs. De Mestral kept trying cotton and silk, but those soft fabrics gave up and flopped like socks on a dance floor. After years of squinting at burrs with a microscope, the Swiss engineer finally crafted the first nylon hooks in 1948. They tested it on everything, but finally nailed the loop-in hook combo using soft nylon that sticks harder than a toddler to a toy. He finally cracked the code using white nylon, a fabric so tough even a sneaker tantrum couldn't snap it. Then, de Mestral's clever invention caught NASA's attention, and it was used in Apollo spacesuits to keep things neatly in place. That handy Velcro even helped the Apollo 13 crew fix their dangerous carbon dioxide scrubber, trading a messy hallway for a life-saving patch job. Yet that 1941 Alps walk with his dog actually kicked off a decade of messy yarn experiments before the final nylon spark finally caught. He buzzed over to a Swiss textile mill, proving even stubborn nylon could catch those burry hooks if they baked it long enough. He secured the 1955 patent by inventing a machine to weave nylon loops, a wild invention that refuses to quit, unlike my morning coffee habit. So he rushed to Switzerland's textile mills to spin that fuzzy nylon into something actually stronger than my resolve to hit snooze. After failing with cotton and silk, he finally built a special machine in Switzerland to weave thousands of tiny, sturdy hooks per inch. That 1955 nylon tweak finally earned a patent, turning bouncy hooks into a slip-resisting hug stronger than your toddler's grip on a cookie. Funny though, before he patented it, de Mestral actually spent 8 years trying to weave it by hand, failing more times than a toddler tying their first bow. So he built a fancy machine to copy those tiny hooks, turning nature's sticky prank into real-world magic. De Mestral patented Velcro in 1955, and it's been sticking around ever since like a bad meme on social media. But here's the twist. That dirty buildup creates friction, exactly like a sneaker squeaking on a freshly waxed school gym floor. That grit basically turns your lace into a messy Velcro strip, grabbing harder than a toddler at snack time. Actually, it was a fair Swiss hiker named George de Mestral who spotted these sticky burrs clinging to his dog in 1941. Wild thing. Those burrs are actually tiny hooks, a trick nature used way before we ever tried to tie a double knot in a parking lot. De Mestral built a special loom to stitch those hooks, turning vine magic into fabric that laughs at gravity. Swiss engineer George de Mestral perfected Velcro, and by the 1960s, it was stuck on NASA's radar. Soon, the Apollo 11 moon boots wore little fuzzy fasteners that survived a trip to the moon and back without losing a soul. From fuzzy moon boots to NASA spacesuits, this sticky magic replaced heavy zippers, letting astronauts get back to work faster than you can tie a double knot. That same grippy magic now acts like a cosmic handshake, locking NASA tools so they don't float away during a moonwalk. That same grippy grip even locked down climbing gear, saving lives on jagged peaks long before it saved parents from tying endless bows. Actually, folks, he never tied a lacing system. The Alpine burrs inspired a hook and loop strap, not a shoelace. That same burr logic later helped NASA fix loose gear on the moon, proving even astronauts hate tangled knots during takeoff. But hold your horses, because that sticky burr story led to Velcro, not stronger shoelaces made from nylon fibers. Actually, the Swiss inventor de Mestral toiled for years until 1955, finally snagging a nylon patent that modern sneakers secretly steal for their ditch-the-knot hooks. By the 1960s, NASA officially adopted Velcro for zero-gravity gear, proving space travelers love not bending over tie knots during lunch. That clever fastener name actually comes from velour crochet, French for velvet hook, a tiny linguistic twist bigger than a loose shoelace clump. So he figured out nylon under a microscope, proving sticky burrs could actually hook onto fabric loops without making a mess. After testing thousands of weird fabrics, he finally swapped that flimsy cotton for strong nylon in 1948 to stop the loops from snapping like dry twigs. Swiss engineer George de Mestral finally snagged his 1955 patent after years of failure, turning burr magic into the world's most reliable nap time hug. De Mestral's clever invention even caught the eye of the U.S. military, who used it in their gear during the 1960s. Ian Fegan actually named his Ian Knot for speed, which ties faster than you can say double croissant at a bakery.